Hello, my name is Shirley Self, and I'm here to talk astrology. Tonight, I wanted to talk about the phases of the moon, the journey of the soul, and tonight I wanted to talk about moon phase 3. Now, to find a moon phase 3, this is the third full 24-hour period after the new moon. And if you want to find it in your horoscope, it's the waxing moon, and it's going to be, you have to have the relationship somewhere between 26 degrees and 39 degrees. So moon phase 3 is a phase of ambition. Having discovered the interests of the new energies that one is carrying in moon phase 2. Now moon phase 3 is going to take those energies, those interests, out into the world and work them a bit, discover them, find more specific fields of interest. And I think in order to really explain moon phase 3, notice it is in Taurus, in the Taurus decadent. It is in the last 4 degrees of Aries in the Sagittarius decadent. And that's kind of interesting when you think about what moon phase 3 does. I want to give you a little background on what's going on here, because it gets a little complicated. Let's go to the myth is what helped me to figure it out. And the mythology, you know, is kind of like the Arthur myth to great extent, the original Arthur myth. And so we've got our Merlin up here. We've got Arthur as king over here. King Arthur over here. Arthur's pursuit of his own powers over here. Arthur becoming a knight over here. Well, so Merlin's the mastermind of this whole thing, and these phases here are kind of the result of what's going on here, and they virtually determine the next cycle, what the goal is in the next cycle. So Merlin has masterminded the birth of the babe Arthur, and has taken Arthur away. Arthur is of royal blood, but he's going to be raised, he's going to be planted in a place that is appropriate, so that he can be absolutely nurtured and nourished, but have no dominant father figure, or no dominant cultural, all that political stuff that goes along with kingship and anyway, air signs. So the kid can grow up in virtually free of any ambition to become like Dad, and this is very important for because the new energy of the Demogorgon. We've got an old soul here, but the new energy of the Demogorgon has been added to it and will power it through the whole cycle. The sun. The sun's the one being educated. The sun we call, in myth, called the will. We call, his name is Will. So this energy is got to have free reign, and that's what it's given here in moon phase 2. It's important to moon phase 2 wander around a bit, find out what the energy is happy doing, find out what it's interested in. And so having found those interests, now moon phase 3 is going to haul them out into the world. Find a field of interest, and the myth behind that is, so we've got this little kid here that is, he's not a kid, he's a teenager, he's pubescent, and he's out hunting, and he's going a little farther than usual into kind of unknown territory, and he finds people that men he finds men that he has never met before, of a variety he has never met before. They are knights. And he spends an hour with them while they're resting, having lunch, and he admires the armor and envies the sword and pets the horses and talks about what it is they do. And what they do is whatever the king wants them to do. They have a great time, actually. And so, wow, all of a sudden he knows exactly what he wants to do. He has developed ambition. He goes home and he tells Mom, "Oh, Mom, I'm going to be a knight." And she says, "Oh, no, you're not, love. Those people were not nice people. They were actually robbers." And on she goes on. And he says, "Oh, my God, Mom, you're lying to me. You're lying to me." Breaks his little heart. That's what it does. He's out of here. And as Robert Bly said, beautiful man, Robert Bly, Moon Phase 18. He said, if the kid was not disillusioned at Mom, he would never leave home. So the hero leaves home because something's wrong, and he leaves home to because he has an ambition, and so he leaves home. As he walks across the bridge that crosses the stream. Now, this is a very important thought in mythology of the point of no return, and that is that stream. So as he crosses the stream, Mom dies. Now, when Mom dies, something very interesting happens, and I'm gonna jump right now to the myth of Cinderella. First, a sip of water. So Cinderella. Now, understand, I'm talking about the two sides of the brain here. Will is the solar brain. The lunar brain is, Cinderella. Moon and Venus. Sun and Mars. Will and willpower. And who I love and how I love. And so anyway, she's raised in, not raised very much, she's a teenager, and all of a sudden, her mom dies, her beloved mom dies. And Dad marries again, and brings into the house, you could say, the evil stepmother. Now, understand, because it's not your mom, and because she doesn't understand you, and because she can't love you the way you really need to be loved, and because she does not understand your little Venus, she's just not going to be fulfilling. And so all through Moon Phase 3, we've got Cinderella having to live with, say, the wicked stepmother, and probably a couple of wicked stepsisters. And so being used and abused is what she wakes up to, what the lunar mind wakes up to, the subconscious mind, instinct. And what she does, because she wakes up, it is a good thing, because he has left, the mother has died, remember? The maternal matrix. He has left all that sustained him, all that taught and cradled and loved and fed and taught him. He has left that to go off into the world and to become a knight and serve the king. And who's going to take care of him? The solar brain knows only what it has experienced. And what it has experienced is pretty much around home. He's now going out into the world, and he needs a guide. Fortunately, he has a desire to pull him along. That's his Venus. And he has instinct to keep him safe, and that's his moon. And so that's why the lunar mind must wake up and get busy and start working. You are no longer the pampered darling working on habit, custom, This is the way we do it here. Nope, that's gone. He's off into the world. And so here we have a rectangle. This is this yellow line here that connects 3, 13, 17, and 27. And they all work together for this is the rectangle of creativity and loss. And the loss is virtually loss. I mean, death, etc. across this part. And here is, here's the card for this. Now, it doesn't indicate a lot of loss, but it does indicate you're on your own. It's Aquarius. It's Aquarius. And it means that now the mind is awake. The 1 foot is now in the water, in the lunar mind. 1 foot is now on the earth, in experience of the solar mind. So we've got here the rectangle of loss. Now these guys more purge. It's still a loss, but they it's more or less willing. You know how it is with life. It's more or less willing. It's a purge, and this is and it's sorrow, a lot of it, and it is it afflicts, especially here. It afflicts the lunar mind, the loving nature. So that's the mythology behind Moon Phase 3. What we've got here is ambition, and Moon Phase 3 is to find a field of interest and explore it. Genetic gifts and the potentials of the new energy want to come awake. So focus is very important to these people, and this is true of both of these. I mean, they're both they're both this card. What this mask is, while you're running here, son, own that too, because that's part of you. And if without it, you is only half of you. So own that too. Anyway, where was I? So the whole point here is to explore, experience who you are, learn. Will only knows what has experienced, at least by this time. And this is very true of Moon Phase 3, which is the most practically wise people I have ever known. They know how the world works. They know how. Why? Because that's what they're busy learning. Is I'm not at home and safe anymore. I'm out here and I'm I'm learning and I'm learning and I'm learning, and it's all new territory. So these people are a genius in a way. If they focus that energy, over here we've got incredible artists, especially artists of the written word or spoken word. And here we've got just their, whatever you are focused into, go for it. And find your own particular area that you, a field of interest that you want to. I have a friend, a beautiful woman who is a geologist, and her field of interest is water. And so anyway, that's what, so these people are curious, and that guides them forward, but they're not nuanced at all. They're very straightforward. They're kind of honest, generally. Honest, enthusiastic. And as they learn to deal with death, that's the issue. Another issue that they have concerning death is that they're so spiritually potent. Look at number 27 up here. a culmination, virtually. You don't have to do this one if you do this one really well. Culmination of the whole cycle. These people are spiritual giants. This is Merlin. So, and this is the creative genius of Merlin. Let me show you that card. Ta-da, ta-da. Is she lovely? The Empress. So the creative genius, inspiration, the guidance of the opportunity is virtually Merlin for these people, and so they feel really responsible for the way their life goes. And so when they lose someone, there's an incredible amount of guilt, fear, self-judgment. They'll doubt themselves. Their senses are incredibly powerful. Their instincts are beautiful because they are the result of all this, plus this result of discovery of their energies. And so if they're feeling responsible and they indulge in self-judgment, that is, you know, if you're a master of something, then self-judgment works a lot, works very well for you. But if you're an explorer, self-judgment is a handicap, seriously. And this guy is an explorer. So if they allow that self-judgment and the bitterness and the sorrow of losing that mother matrix, that I mean, the lunar mind feels bereft. I've not personally known a moon phase 3 who has not lost a mother. Seriously, my own mother was a moon phase 3, and she lost her mother and her father due to World War I, etc. And anyway, if they get confused, they'll get bitter, and they'll just. Women have a tough time. Don't have much trouble finding men who are famous or notorious who are moon phase 3. But I have a lot of trouble finding women. I've found two. Ronald Reagan, his daughter, Patty, who did this tell-all. Now, there's cynicism and bitterness. She did this tell-all on her folks and did everything she could to embarrass them. And I think that might have been really a motive for her. She is, I don't know, a moon phase 3. Cynical, bitter, fearful, disillusioned, wild imaginings. And they will have to be guided by convention. They'll have to rely on the maternal matrix, which is no longer going to make you happy. They're going to be a burden in a black cloud. So that isn't, they're very creative people. I want to talk to you about, let me show you a chart here. This, let me give it focused, and I'm sorry I'm shaking, but Uranus is still doing its fun thing on my Saturn. Are you hearing me? Okay, this is Steve Jobs. Let me give you the info. 24th of February, 1955, at 7:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in San Francisco, California. Steve Jobs, what a brain. What a bright, bright man. Here, let me move that a little bit. Okay. First of all, we see a workaholic. Look at that Cardinal Grand Cross and the Virgo rising. Work, 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 work. And he did. And why? Well, he didn't have anything else he liked to do. He didn't like people. He had a sad childhood. He notice that Venus. Notice the condition of the Venus. It does not feel loved. It's square Mars. Does not feel understood. It's square Neptune. It does not feel appreciated at all. It's opposing Jupiter. It does not feel loved. So anyway, we've got Steve Jobs. When he was a babe, he was passed around a lot. And when he finally found a home and somebody that wanted to adopt him, complications arose. And the adoption was delayed for, I guess it must have been years. I don't know. But Steve suffered terribly, terribly. His self-esteem, he was alienated. Notice the Chiron right down there. I think it's on the cusp of the 5th house of creativity, there with his beautiful, beautiful Mercury. Fairly unaspected. The moon, I mean not the moon, I'm sorry. The sun and the Mercury are both unaspected by what they say Ptolemaic aspects. You know, the big ones, the trine, opposition, square, sextile, it's that kind of thing. So that gives them a tremendous amount of freedom. But along with that, because of the Mercury in Aquarius and because of the Chiron in Aquarius, here we have an outlier. Someone who is so alienated, who has so distant, so unloved. Thank God he turned himself to, he focused his energy on on the new technology. And this chart also has 2 septiles. Let me see if I can remember. What they are. Let me see if they are. Mars is septile the midheaven, and the moon is septile the Mercury. So I don't know if you know septiles, but they're very important. They're the zodiac, divided by 7. 7's a really important number. It's about as important as 12. Anyway, it's 3 and 4, as 12 is 3 and 4. So septiles, they lead to the future. They affect the future, either for good or for ill. And so you can argue about whether Steve Jobs affected the future for good or for ill, but he sure gave us a lot of interesting contacts. Isn't life getting so connected? Are we connected? Are we forgetting how to do it face to face? I worry about that. That we're trading Libra, direct partnership, relationship, one-to-one relationship, for Aquarius. I know everybody. I know people in Peru. Anyway, back to Moon Phase 3. I wanted to point out one thing about Steve Jobs. He's got this Uranus, Jupiter conjunction in Cancer, and the South Node. While they're not conjunct, it's not conjunct the other 2. It's also in Cancer. They're right there on the midheaven, on the cusp of the house of Aquarius house, the house of the greater connection, and that helps to make him really cranky. When you had those, Uranus in Cancer is just cranky. You know, Cancers are just kind of cranky, and I feel privileged enough to say that. Guess I have them. My moon is there. So, but Uranus in Cancer makes people really cranky. It's simply too impatient to be. You know, you got the opposite of the moon nurturing you is Saturn, consistency, steadiness. Steve Jobs had no consistency. He had no steadiness, but he used focus, and that's what a Moon Phase 3 has to do. If there can be focus, they're truly, truly wise physically. On the physical plane, they're incredibly wise, and they're incredibly passionate people. And if they can accept death, death is a real issue. If they can accept death, you know, life is fleeting. Make the most of it. If they can accept that, they can be a joy. But they tend to be kind of slightly cranky. Anyway, that's a Moon Phase 3, including Steve Jobs. We've got Dick Cheney, Ben Franklin, and Prince William, and we all know what kind of loss Prince William had. And Carl Sagan. I don't know his story. Anyway, tomorrow, or I will do Moon Phase 4. And until then, may all blessings flow to you, and good night.